Hey everyone, welcome back to Eat the Fucking Food. Today I have a wonderful guest for you. We are talking to Carrie Williams. I met Carrie in 2023 when I was on a business getaway to get it done trip, and both of us had just started our maintenance journeys. We were learning how to eat up to our needs. And during this week away, while we were there to talk about business, we started talking on a walk about all the things we had to untangle in our lives before we could start really nourishing ourselves, both with food, with movement, with workouts. And that's what we get into today. We have a delightful conversation about the things we had to unlearn from our childhood, about why eating more has really helped us feel confident overall in our bodies, how strength training is necessary for our longevity and our quality of life. It is a beautiful conversation because we also dig into how it all works together, how your mental health and your emotional health connect to what you eat, how you move, how you feel about yourself, and how you can't take care of something you don't love. Carrie's an author. She's a health and wellness copywriter, but most of all, she is an amazing podcast guest, and I cannot wait for you to meet her. Here she is, Carrie Williams. Carrie Williams, welcome to Eat the Fucking Food. I am so happy to see you.
I'm so happy to see you, and I love the name of your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
It's
so
what
much.
we all want to scream.
Right. Eat the food and give ourselves permission to eat the food, right? So Carrie and I first met back in 2023. I actually just looked it up on my phone before you hopped on because it seems like it was a shorter time ago than it was, but we met and we were on a business retreat in Nashville. And both of us had just started our journey about finding our true maintenance calories, the top of maintenance calories. And I got to say, if you go away on this wasn't a trip, but it kind of was with women who like to eat. It is so much easier than with going with women who are not eating. Anyway, the one thing I remember, Carrie, is you and I went for a walk one morning. We wanted to get our steps in. We wanted to be active because we were doing a lot of like computer desk work, brainstorming. And you and I started talking about what we had to do to unlearn some of the diet mentality we grew up with. Do you remember that?
I do. I remember it really well, and I think it's because, Kristin, that's been such a big part of my life. You know, like the conversation we had about growing up in that dieting mentality, has followed me now for 43 years. And so I remember conversations like that because it's, for a lot of us, women our age, it's dictated our life.
Can you remember the first time? Because I clearly have a memory of being in, like, I think it was choir practice, which I don't know why I was in because I can't sing to save my life. But like choir practice when I was young, like it had, I'm going to say like third grade-ish, around there, sitting next to the girl next to me in this pew up in the choir loft. And I remember looking at my tummy, which is a little rounded, just how I'm built, like, and she was not rounded. And I remember being, my body's bad, hers is better. Like that's my first, and it had to be 10, 11 years old.
Oh, I was third grade. I remember it. And I wrote a book. In the book, I talk about that, my first memory of that. And so, Kristin, when I was in second grade, my parents divorced. And then within just a month or so, my grandfather passed away, my maternal grandfather. So my maternal grandmother was lonely, living in Mississippi, and my mother was lonely because she had just went through a divorce. And so my grandmother, my mom's mom, came to live with us. We didn't really have a plan necessarily. I don't know that they had a plan. I was in second grade. I don't think that was probably a long-term plan, but it seemed right at the moment. And so instead of, like I said, I tell this in my book, instead of me having to go to after school and play on the playground and do all the things that I'd always done up until second grade, I was able to come home on the bus, stay with my grandmother. And of course, my grandmother, she's of the age, she baked sugar cookies all the time. And then also Pop-Tarts. Like I had Pop-Tarts, like endless amount of Pop-Tarts. And I vividly remember laying in front of the television every afternoon and watching Saved by the Bell and eating Pop-Tarts. And then in third grade is when I had my first I'm fat moment. And, I've always had like really small bones. Like I have small wrists, I have small bones, but I gained weight a lot around my middle. That was my first memories, third grade.
Wow.
Mhm.
And then, as we know, and like I want to talk about this because so much that's come up on this podcast is the unlearning of diet stuff. And what I love about you and the work you do is so much about the mindset around these inner battles we have to face. Yes, it's a nutrition podcast, but even before we talk about food and healthy eating and what we should do, there's a lot of for women our age. I'm much older than you, but like we all grew up in that smaller is better messaging. It's still
Yeah.
out there today. What mindset work did you do to make the switch?
Yeah, well, it's been a progressive thing. I don't know that it was just like flipping a switch. It's even though I know all the things and I have embodied a lot of it and truly believe a lot of it, there are still times that I'm human and that I get out of whack a little bit. My brain gets out of whack a little bit. But, I really think that it started 8 years ago, and the whole thing for me, where I decided I want to be committed to health and wellness, was I was working in the senior care industry. I was an assisted living administrator. And so I saw the aging process up close and personal. And I was 35 at the time. My residents that I had in the assisted living and in the independent living, the residents who were in their 90s, I would say, what's the key? What's the secret? And they would say, keep moving, keep moving. And then I would also have 60-year-olds who were already needing independent living and assisted living. And they were with walkers and they were, walking around with walkers and already showing some signs of dementia and things like that. They didn't move. And so that was a big revelation for me. And I remember going home at 35 years old. This was 8 years ago. And I looked at my husband and I said, we need to start taking care of ourselves now. I knew then this isn't just about diet. This isn't just about getting skinny. This is bigger than just nutrition, just losing weight. And so that's where it sort of started for me. And then, just a few years ago when you and I had that walk, right before then, I noticed I know how to lose weight. I don't know how to maintain it. I don't know how to get off this roller coaster, And so like I had lost some fat at that time, but then I was like, what do I do now? And then I realized I've never known what to do. So I was like, I gotta figure this out, and hooked up with the same coach that you hooked up with at the
Mickey
time,
Stillman. Yeah.
Mickey
Yeah.
Stillman.
Mickey Stillman. She was a guest a few episodes back.
And
Love
she's
her.
amazing. And I'm a copywriter for health coaches. And I thought I knew so much until I met Mickey.
Same here, right? We were both coaches at the time. And that's what's funny because I talk about like, I have a coach. And then I go, but I'm a coach. I'm like, coaches need coaches. We all need someone to help us clear the forest for the trees because you're right.
Yeah.
We've been taught to diet. We've been taught to lose.
Yeah.
And then this is why so many women get caught because it's also, let's be honest, a lot of these programs we've joined are about making money and keeping you in that cycle. They do not want to teach you what you need to do so you can go and do it and maintain it
and live it without,
right. And that's why, that's another, because you mentioned you're a copywriter and so much of your writing, I used you. I'm a writer myself. That's how good Carrie is as a writer. I have a journalism degree. I am a writer and I chose her writing rather than taking the time because it was so thorough and it was so informative. It helped me teach my clients what they needed to do so eventually they wouldn't need me anymore, which should be the goal.
Along with that too, and this goes back to your previous question that I think is also an important piece of the answer is because I am a copywriter, I'm reading and researching all the time. Like that's part of my job. That's part of the hours that I work in to make sure that what I'm putting on paper is correct and accurate and all the things. And so growing up, Kristin, I had no idea how important building muscle was. No idea. Like when I went on Weight Watchers for the first time at 19 or 20 years old, No one ever said you need to maintain your muscle, Carrie. I had no idea, like literally none. And so through all of this research and reading since I've been a copywriter and have been so invested in the health and wellness space, I started reading some of that stuff and I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? And so over the years, just that important piece of building muscle, not just through your workouts, but through your nutrition and through the food, has become such a source of freedom for me. I'm like, God, I get to build muscle and get bigger.
Yeah.
Like it's my
You get to take up space. It was funny because one of the stories I used to tell myself is I don't have upper body strength. My legs, I was a runner in high school. My legs are strong. I could be like, I can like push stuff with my legs. Upper body, I'm just not built that way. It never occurred to me until I started surrounding myself with women like you, like Mickey, who were like, hey, no, that you have to work at that. It's funny. I'm like, well, I just don't have arm muscles. Like, I just don't show muscle. And I'm like, well, because I didn't have any muscles. Like, I got to be honest. I didn't have any muscles. And now I still can't flex to save my life. But there's definition now. And I'm like, oh, because, me lifting, doing 5-pound curls forever was not getting it done. And it takes time and you got to work at it, right? It doesn't happen naturally per se, like anything
Like I
else.
said, like I said, you and I have two different body shapes, but
Yeah.
I have also always said I just don't have big muscles. I told you earlier I'm small
Yeah.
boned.
Right.
Like that does not mean thin. Like I can gain fat easily, but I have
Right.
always said I just can't build muscle. Like I'm just not a muscular build.
Right.
And over the past few years that I've known what to do and known how to practice progressive overload and known how to fuel my body, now that I can see muscle in my body, I'm like, who is this? Because I
Yes.
never thought it was possible.
Right. And the same way the other day I was joking, even in the gym, and it's now been like definitely like 2 years of progressive overload the right way, concentrated and supported with nutrition. And then maybe 6 years of me just actually, because I would not pick up a weight before then. Before I was
Yeah.
like 48, it was all cardio or it was like a bar class or a yoga, which have their places. I'm not knocking those classes whatsoever. They're not going to add to your lean muscle the way that strength training does. We all
Correct.
know that now. Just the other day, and it was an accessory movement with a band going like this, and I could see I was like, and there was no one in the room. I wanted to be like, look at this. I have a shoulder. I have a little shoulder cap. I have a bicep. You could see the tricep. I was like, oh,
I
it's
know
magic.
I'm brushing my teeth and the way I hold I can see
Oh,
this and
right.
I'm like, ah! And then if like a vein or something, I get so
Right. I was like, once I'm
excited.
like, look at this to my husband. I'm like, I have a vein in my forehead. And he's like, my one son goes, what is she talking about? He goes,
Yeah,
she's telling us she's stronger than all of us.
that's right. That's right. But what freedom in that where we used to get excited about the scale going down and now we get excited about a muscle or a vein. It really is, there is so much freedom in it, Kristen.
I love, yeah. And to me, I love that you're saying freedom
Mhm.
because before there was, and I still have those days where you don't like the way you look when you look in the mirror. Like, I'm hoping a day comes where it never affects me. It is a process, to work through all that. But you talk about the freedom when you feel strong, and it's like anything, strong in body too has helped me, I think, in other aspects of my life. I'm confident in my strength, which has freed me to do something like start this podcast that I think 2 years ago I would have been like, no way. Like sitting in that Nashville Airbnb with you and those other amazing women, I think I would have been like, oh no, I can't do that. I can't
Yeah.
do that. But
Yeah.
even like it frees you up in more ways. And also just my body is a good thing to grow rather than a thing to limit,
Yeah.
which the whole limiting and making ourselves small, it
You know,
hurts in the long
I'm
run.
actually glad that you said that because it's also part of the first answer
Yeah.
is, you were like, when was there a switch or something? You know, for about 14 years now. 14 years ago, my husband and I went through a really, really hard time.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been on this personal growth journey, not just with nutrition and fitness and like all of those. It has been some soul healing, And so that journey has also been part of my health and wellness journey because it's comprehensive. It
Yeah.
really is, And so we're human, and our egos that we develop to protect us in this life have to be there for the human experience. But what I also had to realize is that I'm not just that. Like, I have to truly love myself. I have to love who I am if everything else is stripped away. And so for me, it's been a progression. Sure, I can still look in the mirror and go, oh my gosh, look at these wrinkles, or look at this fat, or whatever. But the truth is that you have to find the type of self-love that does not include any of that other stuff. I have to remind myself often, like, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience.
Yeah. Very well said.
Yeah, who am I in my spiritual being? And I know that being is perfect already.
That's beautiful. I mean, I'm getting teary-eyed because it's hard to care for yourself if you're hating on yourself all the time. And
Yes.
I talk incessantly about how nutrition is the ultimate form of self-care, and we haven't been taught to look about at eating and fueling our bodies and nourishing our bodies at all. We've just kind of been taught how to lose weight, for most of us. And it's all connected. When you feed yourself well, when you move your body and care for it that way, you're caring for your spirit and your emotions. When you take a rest day to like rest, you know what I mean? Like when you do the work that you've been doing, this deep work on yourself, this journey you've been on has led you to take care of your body and your nutrition. Like, we
Yes.
have to remember, I always say it's like the Lion King. It's a circle of life. It's all like one leads
is.
to another. It goes around everything. It's connected, and we
All
can't leave
connected.
any part out of it. And it doesn't mean we have to do all the things every single day and feel overwhelmed. As you and I chatted before we hit record, midlife women are the busiest women. We're
Yeah.
doing stuff. We're still stepping into power every day, taking on new challenges and stuff. So I'm so happy you brought in the emotional and spiritual part of it as well, and that to give ourselves grace.
I did not know I didn't know for a long time growing up in the diet culture that we grew up in. I had no idea that it was all connected. Like,
No,
yeah.
no.
And I think for every single person out there that listens to this, like, especially like if you're a woman, I'm telling you, and Kristen's telling you, it's all connected. You don't just have a food addiction, or you don't just have an eating disorder or whatever, like that is the surface level problem. It's way deeper. It's all connected, and so like finding ways to love yourself on a deeper level is a big part of the equation. And the things like nutrition and exercise and all of those things help you build that deeper stuff, but you have to make the connection that it's all deeper.
Yeah. And you have to make the connection that you're a priority in your own life. I think so many of us give that
Yes.
up. I mean, a struggle I work with a lot of my clients is just making themselves a priority, that skipping lunch, not feeling they're worthy of taking time to eat
Yeah.
is an emotional thing. They have a mental challenge. They have to, a mindset shift we have to make, where like, yes, we're talking about food and I'm encouraging them to eat more in a lot of cases, but I'm also encouraging them to know their worth, and they deserve to take up space. They deserve to take the time to fuel their bodies, which has been a struggle for me. I used to skip lunch all the time because I was so busy, and that can wait. And next thing you know, it's 3:30. You're dying. I'm grabbing anything I can eat. I'm not eating dinner because I'm full. Then I'm waking. I mean, it's like a circle of,
Yeah. You just get out of whack. Yeah.
you get so out of whack. All
Yeah.
right. So one of the things I love about following you on Instagram is the workouts you do. I think you're a tiny person. I mean, I'm considerably tall. Like you said, we have different body shapes, but I love the home gym you and your husband, Lee, have set up. And I love the weight you push because what's the other big thing women fight with strength training? It's going to make us bulky. It's going to make us big. And yeah, we're talking about growing our bodies with muscle, but go look at Carrie, go watch some of the stuff she does, and then tell me if you think she's bulky. Like, it's not going to happen. Yeah.
Right. Building muscle is going to help you live longer, and it's going to help you burn more fat. It's not going to make you bulky.
It's the best thing you could do for your metabolism. I think I know that. I think a phrase I've stolen from your writing is like, your metabolic Spanx. I hate wearing Spanx. I can't. I put them on. I love the company. I wear a lot. I love a lot of their stuff.
Yeah.
I buy an extra size because I just want the line and not the compression. But it's helped me also work out more. I'm like, oh, I don't need the shapewear as much if muscle's holding things where I want it to be.
Amen. That's right.
Muscle's going to get me moving. When did you, because you've really, like, I see you, like, how was even that? Because we were lifting weights in like a safe way. What made you go, no, we got to step it up a little bit?
So when we built our house, it was 7.5 years ago. And like I said, I've only been on this health and wellness kick for about 8 years. I've played around with it my whole life, but like I got really consistent 8 years ago when I was in the assisted living industry. And so when we built this house 7.5 years ago, that space was supposed to be, it was called a flex space or an office or something. And I worked outside of the home at that time. And I'm like, I don't need an office. Let's make it a gym. And my husband's looking at me like I've lost my mind because I'd only been doing some workouts, like there were Beachbody workouts. I'd only been doing them a few months. Like when this house was built, and he's like, a gym? And I'm like, yeah, and somehow I stayed committed, and it's one of my most used spaces in the home. Like I wrote it in my book. I said, who knew that dumbbells and a matted floor was going to turn out better than a desk for an office space or whatever. But yes, like you said, all those years I was lifting light weights. I was following a certain program, same one that you have followed, and literally like just had dumbbells and stuff. And it's not that was bad. It's not that that was bad. Like I stayed.
And you need to start there. You can't just jump into heavy weights. When we talk about and I want to clarify for the women who are listening that are like me, we're scared and would not pick up a weight. Mm-hmm. You got to start where you are. When we talk about it's lifting heavy for you, if it's body weight at first, that is where you start.
That's right.
It's taken me also years. Like I call it the big girl part of the gym. And it's funny because one of my clients in my strength training class is like, can we not say big girl? Can we say strong girl? And I was like, you know what I'm talking about,
Right.
Where you need more. Yeah.
That's right. Now I do always say you can only master something at the level of the capacity that you have for it. Like if you don't have the capacity. So like when I started 8 years ago, if I had the gym that I had today, I would have never done anything. Like it would have been overwhelming for me. Yeah. I started exactly where I needed to start with dumbbells and like all the things. But just in the past couple of years, like it's not that I haven't noticed changes in my body, but like I told you, like I was like, even a couple of years ago, I was saying, I just can't build muscle. Like not really. Like that's just not the way my body is shaped. And so when I hooked up with Mickey and when I learned more about maintenance and surplus and the reality is if you're going to attempt something like a surplus, you better be lifting heavy
to use it. Right.
Yeah. And so my husband in the past couple of years, and he has been muscular kind of like he builds muscle easily. But he
Most
was like,
men do.
Yeah. And he was like, I think I want to get like a big time machine, like a Smith machine that like does it all. And I was at the time thinking, gosh, I don't know if I'll use that. Like I don't, because I'm so used to like my little home workouts and dumbbells and stuff. But it was just I could not use it is the thing. And so I just started playing around with it. And, like I said, through my research and reading as a copywriter and stuff, like I really have embraced this idea of progressive overload and lifting heavy and things like that. And so I actually joined a new workout program that does focus on progressive overload and has different options, like only if you have dumbbells and if you have a gym like me or like a home gym or if you go to a gym. And so it has all these different options. And I mean, he makes you lift heavy, like
Yeah.
the
And
creator.
okay, you had an excellent post the other day, a takeaway. So you're now lifting heavy, especially lower body glutes. I know you've experienced SI joint issues in the past. And
Yeah.
I saw the other day, you're like, yeah, I'm doing things that I thought would be impossible for me to do because of my issues. And now my issues are gone. Can
Oh,
you share
so
a little bit about that?
that has been one of the best things that has come from it because when I was pregnant with my son, he is almost 17. When I was about 6 months pregnant with him, I started having severe SI joint issues because, everything loosens your hips, ligaments, all the things, and so what the doctor told me at the time, because I could barely walk. Like, I mean, I had a backwards limp because my leg was giving way because my hips were so separated. When he said, it's your SI joint, he was like, that it's all gotten loose and it's popping out of place every time you take a step. And so he was like, it should, for the most part, get better after you have Carpenter, my son. It did get better. Then it returned when I got pregnant with Emerson, my daughter. And ever since then, so now for 17 years, I have had like SI joint issues that affect my quality of life. Like if I would ride more than an hour in a vehicle, like I'm like dying, taking Advil, taking all the things, And so one of my friends recently, last year, after we bought this and I started doing some heavy glute work and really trying to strengthen my glutes, she said, Carrie, she was like, it's wild. She said, because you've worked out all these years. She's like, it's not like you have weak glutes. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Maybe it's not going to be strengthening my glutes that helps my back. Maybe I have been working out all these years. Massive difference, Kristin. Like my back pain has been gone now for a few months. And I started this heavy lifting program back in September. I can't recall my back hurting at all, even on long road trips, since about January. But there's a massive difference between having 25, 30-pound dumbbells and doing squats with those or deadlifts with those or even hip thrusts or glute thrusts with those between what I'm lifting now. Like, and the fact that my back pain is basically gone, knock on wood, it just shows me like we are not lifting heavy enough.
Right. We have capacity for more.
We
Right.
have capacity for more. And if my 17-year-old back pain can go away, like what else can it do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know that was such a takeaway for me when that first time I found the top of my maintenance calories and I pushed myself in the gym, and I'm like, I can lift. Okay, I'm going to try that. If I can't do a rep, I'll put that rep. And I was like, I can do it. And it would
Yeah.
never have occurred to me to pick up that heavier weight because I was just be like, that's a big weight, or I'm not going to go use that machine and
Yeah.
keep moving it a little bit. But also you're also, I know, still eating at the right amount for your body to support these workouts, to build that
Oh,
muscle, because muscle
yeah.
doesn't come from now. Like we can lift weights all we want, but if you're not eating, back to that, everything is connected. It's not going to work. Well,
Yeah.
you've mentioned your book several times now. Can you tell me about what is your book? I know what it is, but tell the listeners your book,
Yeah.
how it came to be, where we can find it.
Well, it's called The Phoenix Effect, Building My Mindset and Health from the Ashes Up. So the story of the Phoenix is that voluntarily, it willingly sets itself on fire, burns itself down so that it can rise again and be even more majestic than it was prior to burning itself down. And throughout all of this work that I even mentioned earlier, like my soul's work and learning to love myself, one of I would say is something that I live by every day is this idea of you have to willingly do the hard thing. You don't have to do the hardest thing. but you got to do something hard. You have to willingly say, I'm going to step in that gym and pick up that bigger weight. And you have to willingly do that. And when you willingly face the hard, that is where growth happens. And the thing is, when you willingly do it, you're also prepping your mind for when, for a lack of a better term, when the shit hits the fan and in your life, you have already prepped your mind and trained those neural pathways to handle hard things.
Yeah.
And when you willingly do it, you have a little bit of control over it. You have a little bit of control over it. And so, but your brain doesn't know that. And so then when like life happens, your brain's already healthier because you've willingly been practicing it. So that's the idea of the Phoenix. And so I have always wanted to write a book for a long time and was too scared to, and then being a copywriter for coaches, I've had so many coaches say, you should write a book. You should write a book. And I even had one coach say, Carrie, if you wrote a book about dog shit, I would read it. Yeah. And so last year, I've tried, me and you,
Right.
on my Nashville trip, I was trying, but I had not experienced everything that I needed to experience in life to come full circle with it. And so last year is when that moment happened. And so really what it is, Kristin, is just me telling my story of how my issues started when I was in third grade. And then just the progression of my life and how I have willingly and even unwillingly faced hard things in order to rise again and become a better version of myself. This story that I've told is much deeper than just health and wellness, but you can't say everything in a book. And so I narrowed it down to the health and wellness space just because that is such a huge passion of mine. So it's not like a diet and exercise book. It's way deeper than that, but you will find a lot of that content in there just because it was an appropriate subject for me to talk about because of what I do every day.
Right. And I love what you said, like I know you read us a segment of the book you were working on back in 2023. And you're like, and I wasn't ready and I've tried. But all those things are steps leading to you to where you like they're necessary. Like that was part of it. You were doing it. You just didn't know it at the time. Like, and if that didn't happen, then the book wouldn't be here. It's almost like we're to bring it back to like wellness. If we didn't do the dumbbell program 4 years ago using 8 and 10 pounds, we would not be in the gym now curling 20s and whatever you know what I mean? Like doing glutes with a couple 100 pounds and getting stronger and pain free. Every step of the journey is worthy and should be. And I love that you said when you welcome it, when you invite it in, it makes it's such a difference than when you're begrudgingly doing it because someone's telling you to do it.
That's right. And to go along with what you just said too, I know that it sounds cliche because everybody says that they're like small steps are the way to go or, whatever. There are all these quotes about small steps. It really is true.
It's so true.
It really is true. If you would have told me 8 years ago, Kristin, that I would have a successful copywriting business and be writing and have written for hundreds of coaches, if you have told me that I'd be doing the workouts that I'm doing, if you would have told me that I was going to be an author, like all of those things, I would have said, no, like too much to look at, can't look at, like, and I would have self-sabotaged probably. So the key really is in the small steps. Like it takes the small steps to one day go, oh my gosh, like you can't just jump into, doing a glute thrust of 300 pounds. All steps are worthy, and I don't care how small they are. They're exactly what you need to be doing at that moment.
100%. The question I end the podcast on, because it is about food, and I like to celebrate the eating food. And as much as I talk about nutrition and nourishment and stuff, food is community, food is joy, food is our history. What is your favorite thing to eat? What is the one food what's your go-to?
I actually have two.
Good. That's fine.
Mexican food. I would never give it up.
Yeah.
And ice cream.
Yes. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh my gosh. So right now is probably cookies and cream. Like I've been on the cookie dough kick before, and I've been, like
It changes. Yeah.
it does. And I love like the salted caramel too. Like I like that too. But I love, love, love ice cream, probably too much.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And if listeners want to find you out in the world, where should they go look?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. I'm Carrie, Carrie .m.williams on Instagram. Right. So Carrie.m.williams on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook under the same, I think. That's probably the easiest way to find me.
And where can they go and buy The Phoenix Effect?
Oh, okay. You can go to Amazon, and you can get it on Kindle, or you can order a paperback. There are several book titles called The Phoenix Effect. So you would need to make sure that you said The Phoenix Effect, Building My Mindset and Health from the Ashes Up.
I love it. Carrie, thank you so much for coming and talking with me. I love seeing your face and chatting with you. It is always wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's been fun.